My name is Bob Wasno. I'm the manager here at the Florida Gulf Coast University's Vesta Marine and Environmental Center Research Station. We've got aquaculture and oyster hatcheries, and this is an absolutely beautiful environment to be working in. We've got a nice hockey connection going on here. I coach the D3 club. The boys were down here helping out with some of the other projects. We were just on break and talking about things, and one thing led to another, and one of the guys came up with the idea of why don't we do something with these broken hockey sticks. These sticks are made out of a composite material. This carbon composite material is not recyclable in any way. So basically, these sticks are going right from the ice into a dumpster out to the landfills. So we're taking these, which would be otherwise non-recyclable materials, and we're recycling it and putting it back into the waterways to provide habitat for oysters. What we've created is these, we'll call them the Puck City units, and they're basically broken hockey sticks that we build into these Lincoln log type structures.
Did it take long to design it, Bob? Just kind of picture in your head and kind of threw it together?
This is a miniature version of the Lincoln log structures I used to make as artificial reefs offshore. And these Lincoln log structures are then placed underneath commercial as well as residential docks. They'll be eventually encrusted with filter feeders such as sponges and oysters. And these sponges and oysters have incredible water filtration that allows some of these units to, they'll be able to filter quite a bit of water, and cleansing that water is a big thing for here local waterways such as Estero Bay. When oysters spawn, that larvae is basically within the water column, growing, living on algae, until it gets to a certain size, a certain point where it needs to settle on something. Here with the hard structure of the sticks, the oysters are easily able to affix themselves and begin to grow.
Bob, is there an issue about optimal size, or does it have to do with the material? This sort of 40 by, what is this?
The size is based on, they're 40 inches long, 20 inches wide, and we base that on the fact that for whatever reason where they're breaking is somewhere around the 40-inch mark. But as we see the oysters getting crowded, that's where we can make our modifications, that if we've got 4-inch oysters trying to squeeze their way in through here, maybe we add a 2-inch spacer instead. That will allow them to maximize their growth. And that's what the student study is going to be about, as far as maximizing the population of oysters on these structures, and using that combined with, from scientific literature, what the amount of water that these individual oysters will filter will give us somewhat of a success coefficient, we call it. Right now, this is the first run of placing these under docks, but we've got a pretty good idea that with the amount of area that's within these units, allowing the oysters to grow on these structures, that we could have possibly 250 to 400 oysters on each one of these units. And when you talk about that each one of these oysters can filter up to 50 gallons of water per day, we're looking at a cumulative total of several thousand gallons of water that one of these units is able to filter, and certainly upgrade that local water quality. So this is one that we just completed here, and we'll be deploying a little bit later this morning. And this just shows you, this is a unit that we've had in the water for about 3 weeks now.
Wow, that's a lot on there for 3 weeks.
And the things I want to point out on this is not only it gets a nice coating of this algae, but you're beginning to see, here we've got some barnacles already forming. We've got several
What I didn't think about, Bob, is that habitat inside the stick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The insides of these sticks are absolutely jammed with these are little mussels that are local here. And so this is the beginnings of the biofouling process. This was a prototype we stuck in just to make sure that oysters did adhere to the material, this composite material. So this has been in the water since June, so let's give it about 2.5 months it's been here. But you can already see where several oysters have begun to grow. This is a pretty good sized oyster here. You see some of the larger barnacles, and we've got another oyster over here. But this is the kind of material that's going to only encourage other oysters to settle and begin to grow on these structures. We've now taken to the next step where we've had the prototypes here off the side of the Marine Lab working, making sure that, as I said, the oysters are adhering to the surface of these composite hockey sticks. And now just today we've taken them and now we're starting to place them underneath the docks in public waterways. And today was our first one that we placed underneath the fish house dock.
Can you get it on the center stringer, or you just put it on?
I'm going to put it on the center stringer with two hooks that we're just going to tie off by line. So as we build them, we'll deploy them.
Say like the bottom.
One of the great moments that started this project was that they took the initiative to call the NHL, the National Hockey League offices right then and there and discuss this idea with them. And they returned with a call to discuss the idea that here at FGCU, we take this idea that we've got to building these structures and we make a program out of it, basically package the entire program and use that as a template that the NHL will then continue to promote in many of their coastal cities where they've got National Hockey League and other hockey prospect teams there. This is a great, great project for Boy Scout groups, Girl Scout groups, Eagle Scouts, Pee Wee hockey, Bantam hockey players. This is all a way that these folks can take something that basically is going to the landfill and filling up landfills, doing something productive with them and doing some good. And it's not just the units going in the water, it's the education of why they're doing it is the most important thing. And I think that's what's going to be the crux of success for turning this environment around and working it towards a positive direction. People have to have an understanding. And when we're talking about the understanding, let's talk about starting at the basics. And there's nothing more basic in the environment than the oyster. And when you start with the oyster, everything else will just fall into place.